8.3 Transpiration. The objectives are very important. Don't forget to go back to them after you finish studying in order to make sure that you studied well. Transpiration. What's transpiration? It is the loss of water in the form of water vapor, but specifically from the plant. So simply it is evaporation, but from plants. So what are the steps of transpiration? Water is usually being taken from the xylem cells, right? From the xylem tissue. Here you go, here's the water. And then the water diffuses all the way around the spongy mesophyll cells and also up to the palisade mesophyll. So which ones have spaces between them? The spongy mesophyll cells. So the water film that surrounds the spongy mesophyll cells, this is the water that was not used inside of the cell, that did not move inside the cell by osmosis. So this film of moisture that surrounds the spongy mesophyll cells or any other mesophyll cells starts to evaporate. And when it evaporates, when it turns to water vapor, it leaves the leaf through the stomata. And this is what we call the transpiration. This is an experiment to see the rate of transpiration. I will put the experiment's link for you in the description. So, what affects the rate of transpiration? Humidity, temperature, wind speed, and light intensity. Here you see, when the humidity increases, the rate of transpiration decreases. And why is that? That's because when the air is already full of water vapor, the water vapor from the cells or from the leaves will not leave the leaves, because water vapor is a gas, and gases move by diffusion from high to low concentration. So the water vapor will stay trapped inside of the leaves, or it's gonna leave, but in a very slow rate. But when the humidity, which is the amount of water vapor in the air, decreases, the transpiration will increase, because when the water vapor outside the leaf is less, so the transpiration or the rate of transpiration will increase, because the water vapor will keep going from the high concentration, which is now inside the leaf, to the low concentration, which is now in the air surrounding the leaf. Temperature, of course, temperature increases transpiration, because transpiration is basically evaporation. So the temperature increases. This means that the kinetic energy in water molecules will increase, which means that the water will turn into its gaseous state, which is the water vapor. So the more the temperature, the more the rate of transpiration. The lower the temperature, the less the transpiration. The wind speed. The higher the wind speed, the more the rate of transpiration. Why is that? Because any water vapor that was surrounding the leaf will be flushed away by the wind speed or by the wind. So new dry air will keep coming near the leaf, so more water vapor will keep escaping. Light intensity, again, because light is energy, so the higher the light intensity, the higher the transpiration rate, and the lower the light intensity, the less the transpiration rate. Again, this is another picture of the potometer and the experiment. And what you need to know is that the potometer used in the experiment that I will attach for you is already graduated, but we can use a ruler if the potometer was not graduated. The experiment will be explained in the video of the experiment. So let's answer some questions here. 4 leafy plant stems were placed into measuring cylinders with 100 centimeters square of water. A layer of oil prevented the water in the measuring cylinder from evaporating. So here we go. This is the stem, one of the stems, and here is the oil. Why is that? To make it a fair test, to prevent any other evaporation from the sides of the plant, to make sure that the evaporation is only happening through the leaves, which is transpiration. The plant stems were exposed to different air humidities and temperatures for 48 hours as shown in the table. So here we go. So these are the 4 stems. This is the humidity scale and the temperature scale, and then the final volume. The final volume of water in the measuring cylinder is shown for plant stems 1, 3, and 4. What would likely be the final volume for stem 2? So let's take a look. Humidity low, humidity low. So if the humidity low, this means that the transpiration rate is low or high? Yes, the transpiration rate will be high. What about here? Again, it's gonna be high. What about when the humidity is high? The transpiration rate is low, because we said that humidity is the only one that is inversely proportional with the transpiration rate. Now, what about the temperature? The higher the temperature, the higher the transpiration rate. So here we have low temperature, so low transpiration rate, high temperature, so high transpiration rate, low and high. So if you take a look here, here you have one factor that increases transpiration and one that decreases, and the final amount of water in the cylinder is 75. So this means that the amount lost was 25. Okay, here you have 2 factors that make transpiration rate low. So the amount of water left was 95 centimeters square, and please make sure whenever you're drawing a table to show results to write the units here in the titles of the table. So here the lost amount of water is only 5 centimeters square. Here also you have a factor that increases and another that decreases, and you have left 65, which means that only 35 centimeters squares of water were missing. So what do you think will happen here in 2? It's the only cylinder that has both of the factors increasing the transpiration rate. So of course I need to think of the water remaining in all of the other stems. If this is the least amount of water, though I had one factor that increases transpiration and the other decreases, so if I have both factors increasing transpiration, this means that the remaining water in the cylinder must be less than this one, right? So the answer will be A, less than 65 centimeter square. Okay, which of the following increases transpiration? Air around the leaf with high humidity, air molecules around the leaf with less kinetic energy. Less kinetic energy means high or low temperature? Low temperature. An absence of light falling on the leaf, water molecules in the leaf with more kinetic energy, which means high temperature. So which one will increase the transpiration rate? It's gonna be D, because of kinetic energy. More kinetic energy means high temperature. Thank you, and I hope this video helps you study.